It is difficult to imagine that our planet was once inhabited by completely different civilizations, and even more difficult to imagine what kind of structures these ancient peoples could erect with their own hands without modern technology. We are fortunate enough to live in an era when we can still admire some of the creations of those bygone eras. What are some examples? You'll find out in today's video. The Pyramid of Khufu. The Egyptian pyramids are one of the most famous man-made structures from ancient times, but only because they are the only ones left standing. Once there were several pyramids in Egypt, but now there are about 120 of them left. The largest and most majestic among them is the Pyramid of Khufu. It's the oldest of the three main pyramids at Giza, as well as the oldest and largest pyramid in the world. According to historians, its construction was completed around 2560 BC and took about 27 years. At the time it was built, it was 481 feet tall, but after being bombarded by earthquakes and erosion over the centuries, its height decreased to 455 feet. Even so, it remains the tallest pyramid in the world. The fact that the Pyramid of Khufu has survived to this day is surprising given that over the past few thousand years, people have tried many times to destroy it. In particular, during the reign of Caliph al-Hakim Bayamr Allah in the 10th century, he tried to blow up the pyramid with gunpowder. However, his plan failed. For the same reason, no one knows exactly how the ancient Egyptians managed to build such a large structure. Scientists suggest that it was built by a team of 100,000 workers who were engaged in quarrying, hauling and lifting huge blocks of stone. The Colossus of Rhodes. There are several theories about where the name Colossus came from, but according to the most common version, it comes from the word colossal, which means huge. Indeed, the statue was really huge. The Colossus of Rhodes is considered one of the ancient world's 7 wonders. It depicted the sun god Helios and was 33 feet tall. The statue's hands were raised above its head and each of them was holding a torch. Every morning the Colossus turned his face towards the rising sun and every evening he did the same to the setting one. The statue stood for only 56 years, but then a strong earthquake shook the island of Rhodes and the Colossus fell. To this day, archaeologists have not been able to find all the fragments of the statue. Maybe someday they will be able to reconstruct it and put it back in its place. Maiden's Castle. Maiden's Castle is located in Turkey. Its construction began in the 8th century BC by the Greeks. They built the walls of the castle from huge stones, many of which weigh several tons. During the construction, the builders used the technique of fitting stones without any mortar. And this makes the castle unique to this day, since no other fortress of those times could boast of such a thing. After the fall of the Greek kingdom, the castle came into the possession of the Romans and later the Byzantines. In the Middle Ages, it served as a prison and even a shelter for those persecuted for their faith. Finally, in 1871, the castle became a museum open to visitors. Today, the Maiden's Castle attracts tourists from all over the world, and you can see for yourself how the fortress walls have perfectly survived to this day. The Great Wall of China. The history of the Great Wall of China dates back to the 7th century BC. Over the centuries, its length increased and now it stretches for more than 13,000 miles. The wall is 16 to 20 feet high and 20 to 26 feet wide, consisting of brick and stone. In the old days, it protected China from attacks by nomadic tribes. Along the entire length of the wall were watchtowers where soldiers kept watch and signaled danger with torches or smoke. Every year, millions of tourists come to China just to see the Great Wall for themselves and take a walk along its majestic path. The Chinese are rightly proud of their heritage, having preserved it for future generations. Stonehenge. Stonehenge is one of the most mysterious and famous monuments of world history. Archaeologists still cannot establish with certainty how this structure appeared here and what purpose it served. All they know for sure is that the first stone structure appeared on this site in the middle of the 3rd millennium BC. Then the builders erected wooden buildings inside the perimeter of the earthen embankment, and in the second half of the 2nd millennium BC, the wooden buildings were replaced by stone ones. Later, the monument went through several stages of reconstruction and reached its present form only by the beginning of the Christian era. Today, scientists believe that Stonehenge was an astronomical calendar and an altar for religious ceremonies. But these are just assumptions. In fact, no one knows what this amazing structure was intended for. Chichen Itza. This Maya city in Mexico used to be the center of political and economic life, but today it's an archaeological site open to tourists. Among the ruins of houses and temples, you can still see the famous stepped pyramid El Castillo, also known as the Temple of Kukulkan. The structure consists of 9 levels and symbolizes the heavens, earth, and the underworld. The corners of the pyramid are decorated with a balustrade in the form of a snake's head, and each of the 4 staircases has 91 steps. When the sunlight hits the balustrade at a certain angle, it seems that the feathered snake god Kukulkan himself is descending the stairs. The pyramid is decorated with many bas-reliefs depicting various scenes from the mythology of the ancient Maya. This, too, is an important part of the UNESCO World Heritage List. The Cathedral of Cordoba. The Cathedral of Cordoba was built on the site of a former mosque, hence its unusual name. Construction of the mosque began in 784 AD. By 987, it had become the largest in the world. After the conquest of Spain by the Catholic kings, the mosque was converted to a church. Ferdinand and Isabella ordered that the main altar be installed in the center of the prayer hall and that the beautiful arches of the mosque be whitewashed. As a result, the interior decoration of the cathedral looks a bit strange today, but it's precisely this that attracts tourists so much. No less interesting is the courtyard of the cathedral, surrounded by a colonnade. It features a small fountain in the center and orange trees growing between the columns. Cordoba Cathedral is a great example of Islamic architecture in Spain. Machu Picchu. High in the mountains of Peru lies the lost city of the Incas, Machu Picchu. It was built in the 15th century, but only for 100 years. Why the Inca king decided to abandon the city is unknown. Some scholars believe that the ruler simply decided to build a new capital. Others believe that Machu Picchu was abandoned to avoid the conquistadors. Be that as it may, the city remained hidden from prying eyes for more than 400 years. It was discovered by the world only in 1911. Today, Machu Picchu is considered the most famous landmark of South America. Every year, thousands of tourists come here to see the unique buildings of the Inca civilization. The Leaning Tower of Pisa. This tower is perhaps the most famous structure in Italy. Its construction began in 1173, but was completed only in 1378. It was planned that the tower should be 200 feet tall, but in reality, it was only 180 feet. For the first time, scientists noticed that the tower was leaning back in the 19th century. Now the tilt has reached 5.5 degrees. Of course, this threatens the destruction of the tower. Therefore, from time to time, its inclination has to be leveled. If you're ever in Italy, be sure to take a picture of yourself next to the tower. It's believed that if you do, you'll return to Pisa again. These are just a few of the amazing structures from ancient times that are still standing. People of antiquity managed to create incredible things with their own hands without any modern equipment. Their buildings amaze us with their beauty and grandeur even today. Let's hope that in a few thousand years, people will say the same about our structures. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave your feedback on our video. See you soon. Bye.